Good morning, everybody. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got GAAS, the Great American Auto Scene. Since 1990, your source for information, comment, some fun stuff, but it's all about cars. The Great American Auto Scene. All right, today we're going to talk about something that, well, it's kind of disconcerting to me, and it's the top 10 list of deadliest vehicles. Now, these are current vehicles, not old antique or classic cars, such as I drive and many others drive. But it is something to be concerned with because, well, not everybody drives a classic car on a daily basis, and no one has ever crash tested them. But here is what I'm going to go over. Now, number 10 on this hit list of cars that are considered the deadliest is the Chevrolet Sonic. Now, it's rated 107 deaths per million registered vehicles. Now, 107 doesn't sound like much, but it is number 10. Now, when you compare that to all the vehicles sold per year, being in the top 10 list, that could be a problem. So the Sonic comes in there at the number 10 spot, and it is a subcompact car. And what the NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Commission, is saying is that those little compact cars, not as safe as you may think. Now, they may pass their crash testing, but the reality on the street is something different. We'll go over that, and I've got some questions I'll bring up as we go through some of these great cars and not so great cars. Next up, number 9, the Chevrolet Camaro. Yes, the Camaro, folks. Yeah, while it's tempting to pin the danger associated with some compact cars on the unfortunate physics, size and so forth, what happens when you get to a car that's a Camaro that doesn't have a size disadvantage? This is not a small car. It's a rather heavy car as well, weighing in at close to 3,900 pounds. It is built to be safe, yet it's got 110 deaths per million registered miles or vehicles. The Camaro's already well over the double of the average death rate. Now, the convertible version is slightly even higher at 113 vehicles or 113 deaths per million vehicles registered. Well, Camaro's going to go away at the end of next year. At least Chevrolet is saying that. Now, they didn't learn from the first time when they canceled the Camaro, so they're canceling it again just to make sure. Interesting. Here's one, the Kia Forte, 111 deaths per million registered vehicles. So again, all the numbers I'm going to give you are per million registered vehicles. I didn't know they sold 1 million Kia Fortes, but it's on the list anyway. All right, so it's there. And the 2023 model scoring good for crashworthiness tests really isn't protecting anybody. As we look at the reality, the testing doesn't seem to follow reality. And although you have this group of people that are testing vehicles in crashes and crash testing them, their numbers just aren't matching what we're seeing in reality. The next one up, the Nissan Altima, 113 deaths per million vehicles registered, so it ties with the Camaro convertible. Nissan, very popular vehicle. Notable, it's mainly for being inoffensive. It should be that the Altima has available options of all-wheel drive and an interesting top engine choice with a variable compression turbo engine, which sounds cool, but it's a little weird in practice. Hey, it's a Nissan. Been there, done that, worked for them for a number of years at the corporate level. The Dodge Challenger or Charger Hemi, 118 deaths per million registered vehicles. Now, this is a very heavy car. The Charger weighs in at about 4,400 pounds. It's a four-door sedan. But what is the issue here? It is high death rates. Now, they're also saying they rank second in other driver death rates at 164 deaths per million registered vehicles, only behind the Ram 3500 pickup, which inflicts 189 deaths per million. Now, here's something that it doesn't go into. Are these single vehicle? Are they high speed? Was the driver driving erratically, racing, street racing, driving way too fast? It doesn't say, but it does say numbers of deaths per million, and Charger's right up there with 118. It is sitting in the number 6 spot. Now, by the way, at the end of this year, the Charger disappears. Stellantis, in their infinite wisdom, has decided that since this is a popular selling vehicle, there's no need to continue to produce it. So it's gone. We'll go over some more of that in a bit. The next up, Kia has 2 in the top 10, and it's the Kia Rio sedan, 122 deaths per million. This comes under the compact, subcompact range. So again, it's a small car. What's hitting it? A Dodge Charger, possibly. We don't know. But it's, one of those small cars that gets nailed. Chevrolet gets another one in the top 10. The Chevrolet Spark, 151 deaths per million registered vehicles. 151 sounds high when you look at the others that started out at 110. So, you want a spark of life? It's not it. Get rid of it. Don't drive it. Don't do it. Generally speaking, all active safety tech is optional on this car. So, what are we looking at? I don't know. And what safety tech is optional? Airbags are mandatory. Door guard beams are mandatory. Well, it's a startlingly high death rate. So stay away from the Spark. That's all I can say. Next up, Hyundai. Now, Hyundai is the main company that owns Kia as well. So put the two together. The engineering is pretty much the same. The Hyundai Ascent, 152 deaths per million registered vehicles. Now, again, they're not going into detail as to what is creating this situation. Could it be ineffective drivers? People who don't know how to drive and drive too fast for conditions? What is the circumstances? They don't say. But it is tough. But this car actually matches the Dodge Challenger. 2 different, completely different car classes. We'll get into that in just a little bit. And here it is. Dodge Challenger. 154 deaths per million registered vehicles. It matches in many ways and surpasses the Camaro in its design and style. Now remember, Mercedes-Benz designed both the Charger and the Challenger. And they're pretty well known for their built-in safety. So what happened here? Gene says he's got a 2001 or 21 Dodge Challenger with the shaker hood. Have fun. Just be careful when you're driving it. Okay, the horsepower is an issue. More horsepower, less driver capabilities. What we're finding, or what I'm seeing in actual practice, is drivers can go in and plunk down the money and buy a performance car, high horsepower. It doesn't mean they have the skill to drive it or the brains to drive it. So in most cases, drivers who are buying these high-performance cars, such as the Mustang, the Camaro, the Challenger, and the Charger, run out of talent before they run out of horsepower. And therein lies the problem. Now, in the case of aircraft, and I know this is a stretch, but when you buy an airplane, you have to be rated to fly that vehicle. Why don't we rate people to drive vehicles as well? Especially in the case of these high-performance cars. Now, I have driven the Challengers, both all-wheel drive and two-wheel drive. Yes, there is an all-wheel drive Challenger. The all-wheel drive Challenger is a V6. Now, don't malign that V6 because 300 horsepower is pretty peppy. Now, I drove the car on my way to Bonneville, and I was very impressed with its handling. Now, the speed limit going to Bonneville, posted speed limit, is 80 miles an hour. I felt very secure with that vehicle. And it was even raining at the time, so the four-wheel drive automatically came on. Car was very stable. Very impressed with the car. If I were to buy a new car today, Challenger might be a choice. I would even settle for a V6, with the exception that it's only available with an automatic transmission. And as many of you know, I like to shift for myself. Right, sweetheart? My wife is watching right now. All right, but the all-wheel drive Challenger variants don't share the rear-wheel drive problems, and they don't come close to the top 10. What's in the top 10 is the rear-wheel drive Hemi cars. Now, that goes back to what I just said. High-performance car, low-performance driver. The cars get out of hand when they put the pedal to the metal, and it's driver error, we can say, as a being nice. But again, I really believe and have always believed you should be qualified to drive the vehicle you are buying. If you cannot prove that you know how to handle the vehicle, you should not be able to drive it. Putting a 16-year-old, and I've seen this so many times, in a Mustang, Camaro, or Challenger with a Hemi or big motor cars, the Coyote motor in the Mustang. I remember my neighbor's 16-year-old son got a Mustang Cobra when he turned 16, and I'm going, this kid has no driving experience other than his driver's training, and they put him in a high-performance car. Well, he ended up surviving and not having a crash, but he did blow the motor up twice, so what do you think he was doing? All right, the next car on the hit list is Mitsubishi's Mirage, a whopping 205 deaths per million registered vehicles. Again, I never knew they sold that many vehicles, but, I mean, what they're blaming it on is sloppy handling of the cars. The cars are not made to handle well. These are just grocery getters, inner city vehicles at best. But, again, they come under the subcompact range, which gives you very little metal around you, or body, or safety in the vehicle. So, 205 deaths, it's number 1 on the top 10 list of cars that you can be rather harmed or dead on in an accident. So again, I'll go over these. These are the deadliest cars you can drive according to NHTSA. California, the Chevrolet Sonic, 107 deaths. Chevrolet Camaro, 110 deaths. Kia Forte, 111 deaths. Again, this is per million vehicles registered. Nissan Altima, 113. Dodge Charger with the Hemi, not the V6 car, just the Hemi, and not the all-wheel drive version of the Charger. Yes, there is an all-wheel drive, and again, it's V6 powered. 118 deaths. Kia Rio, 122 deaths. Chevrolet Spark, 151 deaths. Hyundai Accent, 152. Dodge Challenger, rear-wheel drive, Hemi cars, again, two-wheel drive, 154 deaths. And the winner? The Mitsubishi Mirage at 205 deaths per million registered vehicles. Now, again, in some of these cases, I don't believe they've even sold 1 million of these vehicles. So I'm questioning some of these numbers that came out. But this is what the government's releasing. So, good morning, everybody. Hi, Robin, Ellen Fox, Gene, how are you? Thank you for tuning in to GAAS. GAAS, the Great American Auto Scene, since 1990, your source for automotive information, humor, and just fun stuff to talk about. All right, take care, folks. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got GAAS, the Great American Auto Scene. Keep tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow with more information as to, well, what cars can be and fun. We'll talk tomorrow about a new proposed possible ban in California for 1978 and older vehicles. Yes, that's right. Our state is looking out for our, well, they're going after us. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. Thanks for being a guestaholic and watching.